Somewhere in America right now, a 28-year-old is opening her lease renewal letter. She's lived in this one bedroom for 2 years. The dishwasher works maybe 70% of the time. The neighbor upstairs sounds like he's training for the bowling Olympics at 11 p.m., but it's home. She scans down to the number. Her rent is going up $185 a month. She does the math fast, the way you get good at when every month is already a close call. That's $2,220 a year. That's her entire emergency fund. That's the car repair she's been putting off. That's Christmas. And here's the brutal part. She's actually one of the lucky ones, because her city is one of the few where rents are technically softening. This video isn't about rent being expensive. You already know that. This is about why the math we use to define affordable stopped working years ago, and almost nobody has admitted it yet. My name is Daniel. Let's get into it. You've heard this rule your whole adult life. Spend no more than 30% of your income on rent. Simple, clean, feels responsible. Your parents said it, financial influencers say it. It's basically gospel. Here's the problem. That rule is from 1969, and the original version was actually 25%. It came from something called the Brooke Amendment, a formula designed specifically to cap how much the federal government could charge low-income tenants in public housing. That's it. One program, one purpose. Then, in 1981, under Reagan, it got bumped to 30%, and somewhere along the way it escaped into the wild and became the universal definition of affordable for every renter in America. Nobody ever updated it. Not when healthcare went from 6% of GDP to 17%, not when student loan debt hit $1.7 trillion, not when the average new car payment crossed $767 a month, not when family health insurance premiums crossed $27,000 a year. The 30% rule is frozen in 1981, wearing shoulder pads, blasting Hall & Oates, while every other line in your budget has been through a wood chipper. So let's run the actual numbers. As of March 2026, according to Zillow, the typical U.S. rent is $1,910 a month. To hit that 30% threshold, you need to earn roughly $76,400 a year. The median U.S. household income, about $83,000. Sounds fine, right? Except the median household is not the median renter. The median renter household earns about $51,000. Homeowners earn $94,000. Renters make 54 cents for every dollar a homeowner makes. So the actual person paying actual rent is spending about 45% of their gross income on housing before a single utility bill, car payment, health premium, or student loan. Half of all American renters are officially cost-burdened. That's an all-time record. And 12.1 million of those are severely burdened, meaning they spend over 50% of every paycheck just to have a place to sleep. And if you're thinking, okay, but those are low-income renters, here's the update that changes everything. Among renters earning between $45,000 and $75,000, solidly middle class, 45% are now cost-burdened. That number has nearly doubled in 2 decades. Rent stopped being a poverty issue. It became a normal life issue. Let me make this real. Meet Kevin. Not a real person, but basically every third person watching this video. Kevin is 30, single, lives in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm using Columbus specifically because Columbus is cheap. It shows up on every best places to live list. This is not a scary coastal city. Kevin earns $48,000 a year, right around the U.S. median for a single worker. Gross income, $4,000 a month. After federal taxes, FICA, Ohio state tax, and a modest health premium, Kevin takes home $3,226 a month. A one-bedroom in Columbus averages $1,165. That's 29% of his gross income. Kevin technically passes the 30% rule. Congratulations, Kevin. Now let's pay for the rest of being alive. Utilities, internet, phone, renter's insurance, $460. Groceries, $425. Dining out, including the occasional sad burrito at 9 p.m. because cooking again is physically impossible, $220. Used car payment, a 5-year-old Toyota because Kevin read one Reddit thread about depreciation and took it personally, $537. Car insurance, gas, maintenance, $380. Student loan, $300. Health copays, $75. Entertainment and personal care, $195. Total monthly expenses, $3,754. Take-home pay, $3,226. Kevin is in the hole $528 every single month. And he did nothing wrong. No boat, no giant truck, no trip to Cabo. He got a one-bedroom in a cheap city, drove a used car, and ate groceries. That's the entire crime. His rent is 29% of his gross, but it's 36% of his actual money, and after every other unavoidable expense, Kevin is mathematically insolvent. That's the 30% rule working perfectly, and it's producing a person who cannot exist. And here's the thing, the listed rent isn't even the real rent. The listed rent is the menu price. The real price has fees layered on top of fees, layered on top of more fees. Application fees, $50 to $350 per apartment. Apply to 10 places at $75 a pop, and you've burned $750 before you've signed a single lease. Security deposits, usually 1 to 2 months of rent, locked up in the landlord's account, earning them interest, not you. Nationwide, there's an estimated $45 billion of renter money frozen in security deposits right now, roughly the GDP of Bolivia, just sitting there. Then there's pet rent, not a pet deposit, monthly pet rent. Your dog did not sign the lease. Your dog does not have a credit score, but your dog owes rent. About 72% of pet-friendly apartments now charge monthly pet rent, up from 58% in 2018. Parking, amenity fees for the gym you'll use twice, technology fees for the internet package you didn't ask for, and my personal favorite, trash valet fees. That means someone walks past your door to take a bag you could have walked 40 feet to a dumpster yourself. The FTC passed a junk fees rule in 2025 to force businesses to disclose full prices up front. You know what was explicitly excluded from that rule? Rental housing, the single largest source of junk fees in American life, specifically carved out. That's not incompetence, that's a magic trick. And about the rent being set by a competitive market, let's talk about that. In 2022, ProPublica published an investigation into a company called RealPage. They sold pricing software to apartment landlords across America. Landlords fed it their rent data, their occupancy rates, their lease terms. The software cross-referenced it with data from every other landlord using it and spit out a suggested rent. By 2022, RealPage's software was pricing roughly 19.5 million apartments, 1 in 6 rental units in America. In one Seattle neighborhood, 70% of over 10,000 apartments were being priced by just 10 property managers, all using the same software, all seeing each other's data. One RealPage VP said leasing agents had, and I'm quoting directly, too much empathy. Real words, real sales meeting. Nobody left the room. The DOJ sued RealPage in 2024. The case settled in late 2025. Fine paid? $0. No admission of wrongdoing. Just stop using competitors' private data and accept a monitor for 3 years. That's it. The money extracted from millions of renters during those peak years, gone. That inexplicable rent spike you got in 2022? Probably a computer, and the computer got away with it. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I'll just buy a house. Bankrate ran the numbers in 2025. In all 50 of the largest U.S. metros, renting is cheaper than buying the same home. Not some of them, all of them. Nationally, buying costs 38% more per month than renting the equivalent home. In San Jose, buying costs $4,783 more per month than renting the equivalent home. That's a second car, every single month. But the mortgage builds equity. Let's check that. On a median-priced American home at today's rate of around 6.3%, about 84% of your first year's mortgage payment goes to interest. In year one, you'd build roughly $3,870 in equity, while handing the bank about $20,400 in interest. That's not wealth building, that's rent paid to a bank with extra paperwork. And Zillow calculated that the typical American renter at current wages and savings rates now needs about 12 years to save a 20% down payment on a typical home. 5 years ago, that number was essentially zero. The down payment has become a life stage. So where do people actually go? About 32.5% of 18 to 34-year-olds, roughly 23 million people, now live with their parents, near the highest share since the 1940s. But it's not just young people. Meet Linda. Linda is 71. She worked 40 years as a legal secretary in Phoenix. She has Social Security and a small pension.
Together about $2,100 a month. Her rent just went up to $1,650. Linda is now spending 79% of her income on rent. She is not an edge case. There are 12.4 million cost-burdened senior households in America right now, a record. And 66% of women over 65 renting alone are cost-burdened. These are people on fixed incomes watching rent go up 8% at renewal with no raise coming to catch up. In January 2024, HUD counted 771,480 Americans homeless on a single night, the highest number ever recorded, up 18% in 1 year. Nearly 150,000 of them were children. HUD's own report named housing affordability as the biggest driver. This is not a personal failure statistic. This is a system output. Now, here's the part I want you to actually hear, because doom is easy and doom is incomplete. There is good news buried in 2026. Rent growth has slowed to 1.8% nationally, the slowest pace since 2020. Some Sunbelt cities are actually losing ground. Austin is down 4.8% year over year. Denver down 3.6%. Phoenix down 2.9%. In 15 of the 50 biggest metros, rents are at least 10% below their pandemic peak. If you're renewing a lease right now, negotiate hard. Landlords are offering concessions again. Free months, waived fees, reduced deposits. The leverage is briefly yours. But here's where I have to be straight with you. This is not a new trend. This is a supply blip. In 2024, builders completed 618,000 multifamily units, a 38-year high. That flood of new supply is exactly why rents are soft right now. But in 2024, builders started about 254,000 fewer units than they completed. Interest rates spiked, construction costs jumped, tariffs added roughly $10,900 to every new home. So the pipeline filling the market right now is draining fast. 2025 deliveries dropped. 2026 is projected lower. 2027 is expected to bottom out at roughly half of what we're seeing today, arriving into a market where renter demand is still growing, and 80% of homeowners are locked into mortgages under 5% and are not moving. Every major forecaster expects rent growth to re-accelerate starting in late 2026. CBRE projects 3.1% annual average over the next 5 years, above the pre-pandemic average. 2026 is probably the best rental market renters will see this entire decade. It's the eye of the storm, not the end of it. If you're renting right now, here are 3 concrete moves. 1. If your lease is up in 2026, do not accept the first renewal number. Look up what concessions are being offered on new leases in your building right now. Walk into that renewal conversation with data. The leverage is briefly yours. It will not be yours in 2027. 2. If you're thinking about buying, don't run national numbers. Run your specific zip code. The rent versus buy math is close in most markets. It's not in all of them. Know your market before you decide. 3. If remote work allows it, look hard at the roughly 7% of U.S. counties where a one-bedroom still rents for under $1,000. Wichita, Louisville, Oklahoma City, Toledo. The trade-offs are real, but so is the math. Here's the honest answer to the question at the top of this video. Who can afford rent in 2026? Not the median individual worker, not the median renter household, not the median young adult, and increasingly not the median senior. Everyone else is making it work by breaking a different rule, skipping the car, skipping the solo apartment, skipping retirement, moving in with family. If that's you, none of this is your fault. You're not failing the 30% rule. The 30% rule is failing you. It was designed in an era when cars cost $3,000 in today's dollars, college was nearly free, and one income could support a family. That world is gone. The rule didn't update. The math is true. Now you can use it. If this one hit home, subscribe, because next video I'm breaking down the exact negotiation script to use on your landlord at renewal, line by line, including the 3 concession asks that land most often in 2026. See you there.